Hello, this is Miss Cliffner with your lesson for Thursday, January 6th. The essential question is, does the order in which you perform an operation matter? You're putting in your planner that the homework is a worksheet. It's 3.3a. We're working on 3.3 and the Big Ideas Math textbook. I also want you to go ahead and write down on page 76 in your planner that we have a chapter 3 quiz on next Tuesday, the 11th. It's going to be just on sections 3.1 and 3.2. So it's basically the parts where we were translating words into math, and then there's some on identifying the parts of expressions, the coefficients, the constants. And then that's it. Let's get started on the lesson. Okay, so here's the warm-up. Go ahead and try A and B. Pause the video. Of course, I'm going to show you how to answer it. But A says, explain how you can do this sum in your head, right? I want you to do mental math. And so what I notice is the 11 and the 9 make a group of 20, right? So that's one group of 20. And then the 7 and the 13 make another group of 20. And the 12 and the 8 make a group of 20. So what I'm basically noticing is that there's 3 groups of 20, which is 3 times 20 equals 60. So part of the idea for today's lesson is it's okay to change the groups of numbers as long as they're all being added or multiplied. Okay, so for B, giving you these clues. So there's this set of clues here and this set of clues here. And with those clues, you should be able to tell which symbol represents addition and which represents multiplication. So I want you to notice when you look at this set of clues right here, they're kind of the same, right? It says 3 operation 4 equals 4 operation 3. So if I put plus here and plus here, it works. If I put multiplication, it works. So this is the equation that you want to look at to break the code and figure out which operation does the star have to be in order to make that equation true. Go ahead and pause the video and think about it. So hopefully you're thinking, if I add 0 plus 4, it equals 4, right? If I put multiplication in, right, 0 wipes out everything when you multiply it. Anything times 0 is 0. So it does indeed work that the star must be the plus sign and the circle must be the multiplication. So star stands for addition and the circle stands for multiplication. And so it's kind of a little intro into what we're learning about today, where you can switch the order of the numbers that you multiply and get the same answer. Same thing when you add. You can switch the order and you'll still get the same answer. Okay, so let's start off with the essential question. Does the order in which you perform an operation matter? And then I've got a song for you to listen to that will hopefully help you remember. And then I'm just going to pause it for a second, make this a little bit bigger. Some of the words might pop out of the window that I have open, but let's see.
When I was in the younger grades, I learned about addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division too. I was expecting math would always stay.
Sorry, I just opened the windows to make it a little bit better for playing.
Subtraction, multiplication, and division too. I was expecting math would always stay the way. I thought I knew all there was to know and do. That's when my teacher taught me all about math properties, the rules and regulations of how numbers behave. It's really not that difficult once you get the hang of it, the tricks of the trade. Just say commutative means you change the order and the so associative means to change the grouping and distributive. Multiply the outside by the in. With identity properties, you get the same answer by multiplying by 1 or adding 0. Multiplicative inverse means you take a number and flip it. You multiply across the answers always 1. And commutative means you change the order, and associative means you change the grouping and distributive. Multiply the outside by the in, the in, the in. Zero properties mean that when you multiply by 0, the answer is 0 all the time. Use these properties when doing mental math. You'll find that it is easier all the time. Means you change the order, and associative means you change the grouping and distributive. Multiply the outside by the in.
All right, that's my video. Escape. Let's go back to my flip chart. Okay, let's see. I'm going to move this down. Okay, here we go. So this is in your practice journal, except for you don't have the pictures of the little stuffed animals on the shelf. But I want you to see that we're looking up for the meaning of the word commute. And when you commute the positions of 2 stuffed animals on a shelf, you switch their positions. But I want you to know that the way I say this property is I call it the commutative property, because I want you to think about things moving, and it's the little animals that change places. So first I want you to look at these 4 equations and circle the equations that are true, and then just look at what you notice, right? So the way I tell if an equation is true is I do the math on both sides and see if they're equal. So 3 plus 5 is 8, and 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay, that one's true. I'm going to circle it. 9 times 3 is 27, and 3 times 9 is 27. I'm going to circle that. 3 minus 5. Uh-oh. This is a negative number. You haven't even done negative numbers yet. But basically, if you have $3 and then you owe somebody 5, you now owe $2. 5 minus 3 is a positive 2. That's not equal, right? 9 divided by 3 is 3. But 3 divided by 9 looks like this, right? It's a fraction that's 1/3. It's less than 1. Those are not equal. So what I notice is that the equations are true when you have addition and multiplication. So I'm just going to abbreviate this. True equations for multiplication or addition. So if you change the order on subtraction and division, you do not get the same answers, right? That's important to know. Okay, so we have this thing that's called the commutative, well, I'm calling it the commutative property. And it basically says that if you add numbers, you can switch the order, right? So if I do this, and now it's 3 plus 2, I'm going to get the same answer. And when I have 3 times 2, I can change that to 2 times 3, and I get the same answer. So remember, these numbers that I'm multiplying, right, these are called factors. The numbers that I'm adding are called addends. I'm not asking you to memorize addends. You should know what factors are. But basically what we're saying is if you move around the numbers, if you're adding numbers, just adding, and then if you're just multiplying, you're going to get the same answer. Okay, now we're going to look at something called the associative property. And the meaning of the word associative is kind of like it's your friends, right? If you have 2 best friends, sometimes you associate with one of them, and sometimes you associate with the other. If you have, your parents might talk about business partners, and they call them associates, right? Associates are people that you hang out with. So notice that in this picture, pink and green are best friends, and in this picture, green and blue are best friends. Changing groups is what the associative property is about. So again, I want you to circle the equations that are true, and then we're going to look at what you notice. So I have to do the math to tell if the left side equals the right side. So when I add 3 plus 1, I get 4. And then when I add 8 to it, I end up with 12. Over here, when I add 8 plus 3, I get 11. Plus 1 is 12. Yep, those are equal. All right, this one. 6 times 2 is 12. Times 12 is 144. 12 times 6 is 72. Times 2 is also 144. Yep, left side is equivalent to the right side. Okay, now I'm going to start with parentheses here. 3 minus 1 is 2. 8 minus 2 is 6. 8 minus 3 is 5. And 5 minus 1 is 4. Uh-oh, 6 is not equal to 4. I'm not circling it. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. That also is not equivalent, so I'm not circling it. So hopefully you're noticing the same thing we noticed when we looked at the commutative property, is that the equations are only true for addition and multiplication. Okay, so true for addition and multiplication. So what that means is if you switch the order, if you switch the groups, this time we're switching the groups. If you switch the groups in a subtraction problem or in a division problem, you do not get the same answer, right? It is not okay. You can't just put parentheses anywhere you want just because you think it's going to make the math easier. It changes the answer and you can't do it. So the associative property, right, says I can move groupings. So let's see. I could take these parentheses. Right now, 2 and 3 are grouped together. 2 and 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9. I can regroup and put the 3 and 4 together. That means I get 7 first, but then when I add the 2, I get 9. So all I'm doing is I'm not moving the numbers, not like the commutative, but I'm changing the grouping, just like the song says. Associative means to change the groupings. So that's the associative property. Okay, before we go to the very last property, I just want to go ahead and do some notes on this. So expressions with the same value, like 12 plus 7 and 7 plus 12, are equivalent expressions. So they're equivalent, and you can use the commutative and associative properties to write equivalent expressions. So now I'm just going to show you how you can abbreviate. There's a lot of writing when you start writing properties. So I'm going to show you the proper way to abbreviate the names of the 4 properties that you're going to be using in the homework today. Okay, so one of them is the commutative property of addition. So this is how you can abbreviate it. You can't put C, you can't put P, but you put C-O-M-M-P-R-O-P. Commutative property of addition, and I'm going to abbreviate addition. And then I'm also going to write the commutative property of multiplication. Any other abbreviations and people really won't know what you're talking about. Okay, and now for the associative, same thing. It only works for addition and multiplication, not for subtraction or division. So I've got the associative. Definitely don't stop at the first 3 letters. That would not be appropriate. So it's the associative property of addition, and it's the associative property of multiplication. Oops, I didn't mean to abbreviate the of. Okay, so those are the first 4 properties that we've learned about so far. Let's keep going. There's one more property that you're going to work on today. There's more properties than this, but this is what we're starting with. Okay, so we have the addition property of 0. So I want you to know that the number 0 has 2 properties, and today we're focusing on one that's called an identity property. It's called an identity property because the number keeps its identity, right? Your identity is who you are. That won't change. So the idea is that if you add 0 to any number, notice that the number stays the same. So here is it written with numbers, and here's algebra. If I start with A and I add 0 to it, I still have A. So that's the basic idea. So these instructions look kind of long and complicated, but it's not. But I want to first show you this is what the homework looks like. And I'm telling you to ignore the numbers 1 to 18 on the left, right? So right here, oops, didn't mean to do that, but basically that's the idea. You want to ignore it. So this number right here, I'm just going to kind of cross it off. The only reason it's there is so that I can say, hey, take a look at number 7. And then let's talk about what the answer is. You're not using this down here in the box below. Okay, so now here's what you are doing. You're going to look to see, well, so notice that there's 3 columns. There's a column that has the commutative property. It doesn't say whether it's addition or multiplication, so it could be for either. And then you have a column that says associative property. Again, whether it's associative that's being used for addition or multiplication doesn't matter. The addition property of 0 literally is just for adding 0. And so those are the 3 properties you're going to look at today. So what you're going to do is, here's my general rule of how I approach these problems. I first look to see if 0 is being added. Because if 0 is being added, then I'm done. I know it has to be the addition property of 0. Then the next thing I do, kind of like this little checklist that I have, is I look for numbers to see if they've been commuted, right? Commutative is moving the numbers around. So that means the numbers change places. And then the third thing I look for is to see if groups have been changed. So there has to be parentheses, and you're looking inside the parentheses to see if different numbers have been grouped. That's what I do. Now, this is specific to the homework. You're going to insert the missing number in the equation box. So I did the first example for you. Notice it's 2 plus 3 equals blank plus 2. The left side has to be equal to the right side, so I know 3 is the missing number. So I insert the missing number in that box. Then I circle the property. The 2 and the 3 changed position, so it was commutative. So I circle the E for commutative, and then down here at the bottom, I go to the box that has the number 3 in it, right? Not the number 1 that was on the left-hand side. Well, the number 1's not even a box down at the bottom. So because I put the number 3 inside the box, that's the box that I go to at the bottom. And then I put in the letter that I circled that is the property that was used for that equation. Okay, so I hope that helps. This is what the homework looks like at the end. Okay, so for this one, I also want to let you know that there are some blanks for spaces between words, right? So not every number down below will have a letter in it. There's some blanks for the spaces between words. Okay, good luck.